Let's
Oh my
take
God, that's so funny.
another caller that we are familiar with, Andrea in Salt Lake City. Andrea, welcome to the show.
Hey, afternoon, everybody. And Tass says hello as well. In fact, Tass says that she loves Mr. Shepard with all of her heart, and if she doesn't see him again soon, she will die.
Shepard's going to make the drawing today, and also Shepard is doing the Greg Gutfeld show. But is it a pre-tape? Is the episode you're doing of Gutfeld on?
I mean, keep kicking, Jessica. Yeah, no, I guess we're taping it tonight. I reckon it'll be on this weekend.
Okay.
So
yeah.
By the way,
he's doing some pre-tape.
Tass, the best.
The best.
The best.
Totally
Great
the best.
The best. Unbelievable.
artwork.
Unbelievable talent.
So, Andrea, I want to introduce a story here, and maybe you can comment on it as well, Andrea, because we were talking
Certainly.
about the gender pay gap, and this kind of goes into it. Alex Trebek is in trouble. Do you know why, Jessica?
No.
Okay, Alex Trebek, he had a female military contestant on. Okay, he asked her about the job she had taken before she retired. She said she is a retired Army Master Sergeant. Okay. Trebek said, that must be really tough for a woman because a Master Sergeant is giving orders most of the time. How was it for you? She said, I'm pretty bossy. I'm the oldest, so I know how to tell people what to do. He said, you're the oldest in your family. Oh, did we have audio for this? Or no? We have it. Oh, let's play the audio. I want to get your take on this audio. Where is it here?
This seems totally
I don't know.
cringeworthy.
Alex Trebek, here we go.
Lisa Beth Davis, retired Army Master Sergeant. Yes, that must be really tough for a woman because a Master Sergeant is giving orders most of the time. How was it for you?
I'm pretty bossy. I'm the oldest, so I know how to tell people what to do.
You're the oldest in your family. Did you have brothers?
I have sisters.
Sisters, and you bossed them around?
Oh, yes.
So you learned how to do it?
Yes.
Good for you.
Good for you.
He doesn't mean anything. Come on. It's Alex Trebek. He doesn't mean anything. I mean, I get it. It's sort of sexist, but God, when you say he's in trouble, is he in trouble, or are people just going, "Oh, that's not cool"? Is he like in danger?
I'm sure he's getting a talking to by the
stern
higher
talking
ups.
to, yeah.
That you're just not supposed to. I mean,
No,
now you
I
can't
get
even
it.
say
I know.
anything that's going to be possibly interpreted badly, and that is a little problematic. Certainly in your line of work, I mean, jokes now that were borderline are definitely way over the
Can't
line.
do it.
And it's perilous to do that. But I think it's weird because I feel like women are much bossier than men.
They are out of control.
In a
And
way,
they
you're right.
run everything.
in a
I
way-
mean, not the country,
In a-
sadly, but
Jessica's right. In a way, like he seems shocked that a woman would be bossy. I'm like, that's kind of par for the course, isn't it? By the way,
They're leaning in on everything now.
to Jessica's point,
can't
though,
stop us.
they're awful people, women. But I'm joking, of course. I was watching Blazing Saddles the other day, and I thought to myself,
that I've seen in multiple times in Love.
but there's no way you could make that movie today.
You can't even watch it. Terry, you're in trouble for watching it the other day.
I mean, I was watching it. Mel Brooks that was genius, and I thought you couldn't even make that movie now.
No, you
so
couldn't.
I get like we're talking about the the Entertainment Tonight thing, or is that what it is? Network, yeah. And there's so much stuff that's been just blown out of the water, and I think a lot of it. Well, I do know a lot of it was needed and warranted, obviously, because there's bad behavior. But man, it's almost like I think there's going to be a bad pushback on this eventually, or there's going to be some people who get hurt that don't deserve to get hurt.
I think it's already started.
Yeah.
If you saw the woman who was running as a Democratic candidate in Kansas, and so she was accused of sexual assault by a man who worked for her 12 years ago. And she was basically forced out by the party because we have this no tolerance policy now, like what happened to Al Franken.
Yeah.
And she said, she made a statement basically saying that this is an incredibly dangerous road to go down, that allegations that were never proven at this level. We're not talking about like a Roy Moore situation. You're talking about one guy said 12 years ago, she said he was a disgruntled employee that had been fired, said something about me, and because of that,
and she's gone.
You're missing out on a representative that would have been an exemplar for what the party is all about.
That's not pushback, Jessica, because it's a woman. She was allowed to push back. A guy couldn't say that. She came
No,
out.
but they are.
I read her.
Matt
I know
Damon
what
is
you
not
mean.
doing so
I
well
read her
with what he's
statement
saying.
on the air here.
Yeah.
She said he was a disgruntled. First of all, she attacked the so-called victim.
victim.
If a guy did that, good
You're
night.
gone. You're gone.
It's not pushback. The pushback has not started yet because she said things in her statement. She said he was disgruntled. She basically
Trashed him.
She trashed him.
Yeah.
And a guy would not be allowed to do that. Let me ask Andrea, who is female and military, what she thought of Alex Trebek.
Well, I think this is kind of the logical conclusion of society now having to consider intersectionality. So it's not that this person was a master sergeant, but how did gender, her identity, play into that role?
Oh, yeah.
And along those same lines, speaking of intersectionality, what's it like for Alex Trebek not just to be a game show host, but to be a Canadian living and working in a superior country, filling that?
Exactly.
Well played.
Well, Terry, it's funny because they said, people were saying, well, Alex Trebek, he's an old guy, he's kind of old school and whatever. But it's funny. Andrea may be right. In the old days, they might not have even made a woman thing out of it. Now you feel like you have to bring up gender. If gender is present, you have to bring it up.
It's crazy. I'm telling you, man, I can't keep up with it. It's. Here's another thing too. People keep. I've been asked before. Well, do you believe the allegations about Harvey Weinstein? Do you believe about Al Franken? Here's the thing. Self-absorbed, self-important America. It doesn't matter what I believe. Doesn't matter what you believe. Doesn't matter what you believe. What matters is what is. And the only way to get to that is to go through that certain process. I mean, I'm not a fan of Al Franken, but he shouldn't resign if he comes out and says I didn't do it. You can't get rid of him. Now, Roy Moore, that came out where initially I thought, based on the stuff, the timing, I was like, that seems suspect. Then all the stuff kept coming out about him. So it looked bad. But again, if Roy Moore says to the Republican leadership, or if maybe President Trump called him and he said, I didn't do it. I know it looks bad, but I didn't do it. You can't say, I don't care, you got to go. And that stands for Harvey. That falls in place for Harvey Weinstein, who
But there were police reports for Harvey Weinstein.
Well, I was
what's
going to say,
interesting,
but for Harvey Weinstein, Lauren Savan, who is a mutual friend of ours, who is a great friend, I believe her because she's my friend, but really, but there's also, you had an ongoing investigation by NYPD, you had the tape with him. We got that. But it's still, if Harvey Weinstein came out and said, I didn't do it, even though we may believe, it doesn't matter what we believe. You've got to go through the process. Now, we know he did because of all these other things. But again, I feel like what's happening is guy or girl doing this is it's this court of public opinion where people believe something, and that's what's getting the results. No, that's not. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that.
Well, Terry, let's see. Terry said something very similar to what Matt Damon just said, and he got in trouble for it. Jessica, please answer in the form of a question.
What is the worst thing you could possibly say in an interview about the Me Too movement?
Nice.
She did it.
That was actually pretty darn good.
Wow, what did you wager?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that was like $1,000 question for sure,
really
right?
was. Pretty
It
damn
really
good,
was.
actually.
But look, it's an interview. The people push these people to answer questions. I feel bad for little Matt Damon. How about them apples?
Listen, I think some of the memes are hilarious, though, where like him up against the window of the restaurant holding up a napkin that says, like, did I mention I didn't rape anyone?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It is
And-
true. That was dumb because he said,
It was
because
so-
one of his comments was, why aren't we talking about all the men who haven't committed
Right,
sexual
which-
assault? It's not the best comment.
Which, frankly, is, I've talked about this issue a lot on air and off air, and you have to be concerned for those who may be falsely accused of something like this.
Yeah.
I mean, we had last week Chuck Schumer. Someone came and accused him of something. His staff was able to prove that he wasn't even in the location for which this person said it. They were using information from like a bill that didn't even exist. I mean, totally fabricated.
They were able to actually look at that.
But he had a staff of 20 people.
Right, what
who
if he wasn't able to prove it?
Which majority of people can't do, right? And then you're sitting there with this accusation that you know to be patently false, and you don't have the time or the resources necessarily to meticulously disprove it in that way.
Or the legal money to fight it.
Exactly. But at the same time, we are in this incredibly important cultural movement where I feel like the default, and rightly so, is to believe women. And that isn't something that has happened in the past
That's a
at
fair
this
point.
level.
That's a fair point.
Because there are things that have happened decades ago that you will never be able to definitively prove. We don't have, we have cameras on us everywhere now, but there was no camera in the parking lot outside of the diner when Roy Moore got in the car with that young woman. That just doesn't exist. And we were even in that circumstance almost lucky that there were letters, right, that he had written things, and we knew from old colleagues in the police that, he had issues at the mall and the football games and all of that.
Yeah, it started piling up.
Right, but you're not going to be able to have that. And you can't have people saying you're just a bunch of lies. Okay, bye.
Well, wow.
I mean,
Charlotte, she cuts it off when I say let's take a break.
Well, I'm used to hard breaks.
You are, yeah. Well, it's kind of a soft break. We're going to come back and Andrea, thanks for the call. This is the Tom Shalhoub Show. I'm here with Shapert and Tarlov. We'll be back.